Tonight on The Political Game, the annual commemoration of Anzac sees New Zealand's first MP, Ron Mark, travelling from dawn service to dusk to meet with former army colleagues and other old soldiers, sailors and airmen.
Never trust a man who wears a dress. Frock.
We'll see Parliament's very own version of Lotto, as a Members' Bill gets drawn from the ballot.
And welcome to the table office for today's Members' Bill ballot.
And discover the presence of a ghostly figure, a link to a tragic and violent death more than a century ago.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Dawn, April the 25th, 2016. It's the 101st anniversary of the landing on Gallipoli and a sacred holiday on the New Zealand calendar.
I have a lot of people that are in my head right now, people who have passed on, people I served with. So for me, attending Anzac Day is a must. Missing it is just an impossible thought.
Today, Ron Mark is one of the few MPs with a service background. But in years past, many members of New Zealand's Parliament were returned men and women.
I guess that's the nice thing about Anzac Day. It's an opportunity not just to remember those who you served alongside, but those who passed, those who laid the foundation and built this great nation of ours and paid the ultimate price. It's also an opportunity to catch up with people, families of those that you serve with, and sometimes you're able to answer questions for them. Sometimes you're able to hear a little bit more about those mates you served alongside with, some who are still there and some who are not.
Ron joined the Army shortly after me. We went through the regular Force Cadet School together. He graduated after I did, but we were both grease monkeys, we're both mechanics together.
Personal day, but a day also I have to put some of that off to one side to do my civic duty as a Member of Parliament, and of course, do the best I can for New Zealand first.
Every time he gets ejected from Parliament, he's doing his job. He's trying to keep these buggers straight.
We're pretty much on the same page. There's some things we don't agree with, but that's fine. I just like the idea of him, taking on what he believes to be a cause. And regardless of what our political affiliations are or what our beliefs are, a good number of soldiers stand behind Ron, and he knows that we've got his back. It doesn't matter whether we agree with him or not. He's one of our mates.
For Ron Mark, Anzac Day is a sort of rolling feast of events as he journeys through the Wairarapa towns, travelling by bus and laying wreaths on the many country cenotaphs and war memorials.
This is Heartland, New Zealand, and when you look at the Boer War Memorial down the road there, this memorial for the First and Second World War, the impact on towns this size, on communities this size, of those losses, and if you also remember that the numbers of people wounded, maimed, injured who still returned home were 3 times that, 4 times that. The price that small communities like this paid was huge, and we do well to remember that when we send people overseas.
Major Ron Mark, retired, sees his parliamentary service in much the same light as his former career.
Should I kneel down? Then you'd be taller than me.
It is still a duty, but these days a duty to serve his constituents.
We had an old saying in the army, if you can't take a joke, you shouldn't have joined. Get on with it. That's it. It doesn't stop. It is 24/7. And if you're going to get upset because someone rings you home at 9:30 on a Sunday night, then don't be an MP. Get out of it. It's the same as when I was the mayor. If you're going to get upset because someone walks up to your dinner table while you're trying to have a meal in a restaurant and sits down beside you and says, I need to talk to you, if that upsets you, don't be an MP. Go do something else, because that's the job. And the day you stop listening to those people, that's the day you're out of touch. Never trust a man who wears a dress. Yeah. Frock. And these people will tell you things. You know, some days you might bite your tongue and, you know, breathe deeply. But, you know, hearing some of the things that you don't want to hear is part of it. The community's got a voice, and sometimes the only way they can make their voice heard is to buttonhole you the first opportunity they see you. And if it's not you, it's another MP. And sadly, if you're the only MP they've seen for a year, then get ready. Get ready.
Windy Wellington might just be one of the best places on the planet to fly a flag. And keeping that banner high on the very top of the beehive is yet another task for Parliament's maintenance crew.
Just going to pop up and change that flag out.
There is little debate over the flag when it comes to working out which of the New Zealand ensigns will fly over Parliament. The only decision they have to make is how big it will be.
It won't fit, but this is the 6-yard flags, 4-yarders, you know, different sizes for different wind loadings and that sort of thing. But lately we've always been flying the 6-yarder, the big one. The last speaker before this one sort of insisted on the big one, and we've just sort of kept that way. So here we go. Hopefully the wind won't be too high and we'll be able to get it down without ending up out in the Blinken harbour, because it sort of gets pretty strong, the wind up there. There we go. There we go. Here we are under the beehive. Okay. We'll take this special lift that goes all the way to the top. We usually just make a quick phone call to security, let them know we're going on the roof. There we go. Hello. Hi. Hello. Just going up to change the flag. Sometimes the flag may only last a couple of months if it's a real windy, you know, weather. Okay, now we sort of open the door. Up onto the beehive roof. It's not too bad. It's getting a little bit breezy. Yeah, we might get away with it if we catch it in between wind gusts. It's not too bad. Okay. Go up and take the chain off? There. Yep. Alex will go up and prepare the weight. Just knocked the hell out of the flag a bit. She's starting to fray quite badly on the end. So, quite rightly, we need to get it down. Oh, we see lots of things everywhere, but you know, we do and we don't. You know what I mean?
We saw nothing.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start hauling, mate. Right way up, the right number of stars. Yep, for the minute. That's the country's flag, and she's flying. Quite an honour, really, to be putting these things up here.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, huge privilege, you know, and it's taken seriously as well, so.
Yep. We're careful that we don't let it touch the ground. We just treat it with respect. Quite a lot of people look up to that flag, and we do too, so if we're half-masting because one of our soldiers has died overseas or something like that, with, you know, we unofficially, Al and I, we say a little karakia up here, and hey, we want Waiata up here, you know, and, hey, in the middle of the night or when they ask us to do it, just something we do, you know what I mean. If the rope breaks, this pole can be pivoted down. I had to do that once when we changed from the smaller flags to the big ones. The speaker came up and we had a big, you know, shindig And I said, the last Maori that did that got in trouble. And he just laughed. We got away with it.
Parliament is a house of many clocks. They mark the passage of time, but also reinforce the fact that the whole place runs to a tight schedule.
I work in the library. I have the function of winding the clock because I'm tall enough, and also I volunteered. The library's always had some responsibility for it. I have an automatic clock on my computer, so I'm told every Wednesday morning when to wind the clock. And so I do. It keeps very good time. It just needs winding once a week, and that's always Wednesday morning.
For about 100 days each year, while the House is in session, the march of time is measured by the division bells. The call to question time, and the fact that the House must transact all the government's business within a tight time frame.
Reports of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Committee on the International Treaty Examination of the Berne Convention for the Protection of Literary and Artistic Works.
In question time, the Speaker keeps order, making sure questions and answers are kept short and to the point.
Speaker, what a stupid question that is.
Order, order. The member will stand and withdraw that remark. Correct.
But that's not to say that question time is free from the political game.
Speaker. The answer.
Mr. Speaker, I say to the member, if he hangs around long enough in question time today, we'll be able to see just how good the Speaker is.
Order.
No, John boy.
Order. Would the Prime Minister please... Order. Would the Prime Minister now ask the question originally asked?
OK, I'll ask myself a question, then I'll answer it, Mr. Speaker.
With the greatest respect, the question time goes like this. A member asks a question of a minister. He does not start asking himself questions, otherwise he should be sent off to the loony bin.
Come on, Paula, give us a go here.
Order.
This is my turn.
Order. And it is, so please proceed.
Yes, thank you.
On the surface, it's a level playing field. Each sitting day, there are 12 questions on the notice paper. The questions are divided proportionally between government and opposition parties. This gives rise to an obvious tactic, the use of so-called patsy questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister, how does New Zealand's overall economic performance compare with other OECD countries?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Finance, we are well positioned and our overall economic performance reflects the good performance in employment.
Patsies are friendly questions devised by government strategists. They are asked by government backbenchers and designed to elicit pre-prepared or pat answers from ministers.
What is the progress of educational achievement under this government?
The Honourable Heke Parata.
The pat answer invariably puts the government and its policies in the best possible light.
Can the Minister confirm that of the 31 patsy questions he has asked himself...
Point of order, the Honourable Jerry Brunner.
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that there is any such procedure in this House for the asking formally of a patsy question. There is, however, an opportunity for opposition parties to ask questions, but of course they don't, because they don't like the answers, particularly in this case.
I've been in the House somewhat longer than Mr. Browning, not much, but I've heard many patsy questions asked in question time. Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to start again. Can the Minister confirm that of the 31 patsy questions he has asked himself, not one has included anything substantive to reduce the cost of doing business? And if so, will he accept our suggestion that he use his next patsy question to announce a reduction in ACC levies?
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
But patsy questions aside, there is one mechanism which guarantees any member of any party can get his or her chance to write their place in history by getting something they believe in debated by Parliament and maybe to become part of the law which governs New Zealand. Green Party co-leader Metiria Ture is working on just such a member's bill.
Yeah, OK, that's good.
It's an attempt to address child poverty.
I'm trying to write a bill on child poverty. So that defines child poverty, measures child poverty, and gives a new minister, the Minister for Children, some powers over how that information is collected so we can start the process of eliminating child poverty in New Zealand. At some point I will put it in the ballot, so members' bills like these ones we write ourselves, go into a ballot, and about every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or so there is, they pull 1 or 2 or 3 out of the ballot, and those ones get to be debated in Parliament. So it's luck of the draw. There's no guarantee that your bill is going to get pulled out. Some people I know one person who waited 7 years for their bill to get pulled out of the ballot. They really held out. They were good. Yeah. So you just don't know if it's going to happen.
So this is the Members' Bill ballot tin, and this is to help us conduct the Members' Bill ballot. It's just like bingo, really. There are counters in here. Each number represents a different bill. Now the tin itself was quite interesting. The tin came from Decca on Lambton Quay. The table officer at the time, she was instructed to go out and purchase a tin. So she went along to Decca, found a biscuit tin, the biscuits were consumed, and now we have this tin that's lasted all this time. It's a lot of drama with the drawing of the ballot. A lot of drama.
Okay, so it's about a minute to go. Good afternoon, and welcome to the table office for today's Members' Bill ballot. There is one space on the order paper for a bill. 80 bills have been entered into today's ballot. This is a tie for the record. Copies of the final list of the bill are available around the room, so hopefully you've had a chance to have a look. The 80 tokens have been laid out on the table over there for inspection, so if anyone wants to have any last minute checks, that's fine. Otherwise, the ballot is always drawn by a member of parliamentary staff without any political affiliation. Today's guest drawer is Paul Hollis. He's a security officer, and if everyone's ready, then we'll begin.
Okay, Paul, if you want to come up here, I'll just...
And the number's 2323.
23, Education, Charter Schools Abolition, Amendment Bill in the name of Chris Hipkins. That bill will be announced as introduced at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you much.
It's a really quirky sort of part of our democracy that, as far as we're aware, no other parliament does. I do live tweeting. I think in the past we've had over 5,000 impressions for the Members' Bill. And it's one of those things that people out there love. So that's one of the ways that we let the public and people outside of Parliament know what's happening. It gives things a sense of immediacy, so people can see that democracy is happening live. So it's actually probably one of the most followed things, one of the most popular things that we talk about on Twitter. The tin itself has got its own little history and story behind itself. People, I believe, are very protective of the tin and not making any changes to it. And again, it is something that's very unique to this Parliament.
It actually has a social media life of its own. I think any call to replace the tin would be met with outrage.
One thing the tourists who visit Parliament are not told about is a tragic footnote to New Zealand's history. At the end of the 19th century, one of the members of Parliament took his own life in the building which now houses the library. Ill-informed rumour would have it that the man in question was New Zealand's longest-serving Premier and Prime Minister, King Dick Seddon. But that simply isn't true. Seddon actually died of natural causes while on board a ship returning to New Zealand from Australia in 1906. Richard John Seddon was the undoubted colossus who dominated politics as the 19th century turned into the 20th. His larger-than-life statue looms above the forecourt of Parliament. But it's not his ghost that causes some of the security officers and other staff working in the old library to tread warily and look closely at the shadows.
I've heard stories about an MP who took his life here, and apparently he's haunting the place. I have heard that. I've been here 20 years, and pretty much straight away as soon as I got here 20 years ago, the guys told me that this library area, especially at night time, when you walk through, be careful because it's haunted. Grant to control.
Good, Grant.
Commencing library unlocks. I've walked through this place a few times, and all of a sudden there'll be a noise, like for instance a door closing. So it does freak you out a little bit. And I'm not the only one. There's a few other guys, security guys, have come back with the same story. After they've done their patrol of the library with white faces saying, oh, there's something up there, I got out of there as soon as I could. Can be quite scary, but we've got to carry on doing our job. In all honesty, I'll probably just pick up the speed a little bit to get out of here. At night time, when all the lights are out, and you come into this room and you see that, like a Joker's face right on down the end there, then you realise, oh, that's right, it's just the plinth of Richard John Seddon. It's just his shoulders and head. Then, yeah, you stop panicking. Or stop being afraid. If that's the way to put it. And that's it. Done. Finished. I'll just call that in. Grant to control.
Okay, Grant.
Library unlocks completed.
Thank you.
Superstition and the omnipresent statues of King Dick Seddon are a potent force. But Parliament's official historian, John Martin, actually knows the true story of the man who still just might be haunting the halls of power.
There are a few ghost stories around, and it's not surprising really with the sort of the Gothic feel to the buildings. And I have heard stories of cleaners refusing to work in this particular building because of that sort of encounter that they've had. Certainly in the old days, before this building was refurbished, there were areas that would sort of make you conducive to feeling like that, because the old attic was a pretty ghostly sort of environment, and down in the old basements where stray cats would produce litters of kittens and roam around and so on. It was sort of fertile ground for people perhaps feeling that there was something going on. But of course there was a suicide here in the buildings in 1898. It was about in this spot here, where Larnack, who was a very eminent MP and cabinet minister in the past, decided that he was going to commit suicide, having got a particular letter which most people believe concerned an affair that his son was having with his young wife. It's not entirely proven, but in the biography, that's what is suggested, precipitated what he was going to do. And Parliament was sitting at that point, and he ducked out, went down to Lambton Quay, bought himself a revolver from the Tisdall's sports shop, came up to this space, and this at that time was the first floor level. And it was around this space there was a particular committee room which he locked himself into and shot himself in the head. I think the shot was heard, and the messengers tried to break down the door and eventually got into the place. And Parliament, which was sitting not far away, just across there, was adjourned, and people came in and witnessed the scene, and it was obviously made a huge impact at the time. Someone like Larnack doing such an act in the precincts of Parliament itself. And so, yeah, that was an incident that maybe has sort of led to people sort of thinking about the sort of ambience, if you like, of Parliament, and maybe the fact that there are a few ghosts lurking in the shadows.
Next week on The Political Game, we'll talk to the Queen's main man in Aotearoa on the eve of his stepping down from the Governor-General's office.
Normally it involves picking up a pen and signing my name and dating it.
And we'll discover how a century and a half of history, a disastrous fire and an anticipated earthquake have all combined to leave us with a discordant architectural jumble of buildings in the parliamentary precinct.